Over the years, I've known my fair share of Clarion's colorful characters. There was Quilly and Joe that used to literally bark at each other across Main Street, or Mary Lou and Ruth Ann, who were best friends until they weren't, and then I would get a call from the high rise to come down and de escalate what was rapidly becoming a violent situation, sometimes involving weapons. But the most colorful and well known of the characters in town, and sometimes one might even say the most annoying, was Richard, now of blessed memory. If you could believe Richard's story, which was always a question, his childhood was very tragic, involving the murder of his parents. He became a ward of the system and later became a product of the system. He understood systems better than most college professors. He could utilize them, use them, abuse them in ways that most of us don't even think about. He had more cons and more games than one saw on the movie The Sting. Not only did he play the systems, but he also played the community. And over the years, he collected a carefully orchestrated network of persons from the community, each carefully defined roles to do his bidding. My job was to provide transportation because there was no one else in town that would allow Richard in their vehicle. For me, I just kept the windows of the Jeep rolled down all year round and kept an industrial-sized bottle of Febreze in the back seat. It wasn't a big deal. Later in our relationship, I became also the nightly phone call. And while there was always a request for something simple, like a couple of stamps, an envelope here, or some copy paper, his real reason for calling was just to have someone to talk to. And I was glad to provide that. My favorite Richard story happened shortly before Thanksgiving one year. Richard called up and informed me that he had vouchers for 3 free turkeys at Walmart, but we had to get them that morning. I said, okay, I'll pick you up. And I did, and we went down, and he came out with not only his 3 free turkeys, but a whole shopping cart full of groceries. And when we had unloaded everything at his house, he greeted me at the entrance to the kitchen with 2 turkeys in his hands. And he said to me, Pastor Jacobson, because you've been so good to me over the years, I want to give you these turkeys for Thanksgiving, that you can share them with your family. I was touched, humbled. I said, are you sure, Richard? I don't want to deprive you. He said, oh, no, please take them. And so I did, and I put them in my freezer. A few days later, I got a phone call. It was Richard. Pastor Jacobson. Yes, Richard. Well, it turns out that he had family coming in for the weekend, and he had nothing to serve them. And would it be possible, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, if he could have one of those turkeys back? Could I drop it off at the house later? I said, certainly, Richard. Now, one of the things I did know in those days was that Richard's family, much like Klinger on MASH, his family had a way of dying and being resurrected on a regular basis. So I had a pretty good guess that his request was not really on the up and up, but that was part of the game. Just before Thanksgiving, I get a phone call. Pastor Jacobson. Yes, Richard. I hate to ask you this, but I have this really good friend, and she's in really bad shape and has nowhere to spend Thanksgiving. Is there any way I could have that other turkey back? I don't have enough here for both of us. I said, sure, Richard, I'll bring it down. And I did. Those were the games we played to see who could outsmart the other. And believe me, to underestimate Richard was to make a grave error. He played the turkey game one more time just before Christmas. I came home with my gifted turkey and announced to Deborah that we were having turkey that night as soon as we could get it thawed. Sure enough, a couple days later, I got a phone call from Richard. Pastor Jacobson, do you still have that turkey? Well, Richard, I had it the other night, and it was the most delicious turkey I've had in years. I just really want to thank you for your generosity. That was such a great gift, and we enjoyed it so much. So, no, I don't have the turkey anymore. That was the last time we played the turkey game. But there were many more games we played over the years. Some he won, some I won. I've missed Richard a lot during this pandemic. Not only for the game, but also because he had a way of navigating the systems that I truly would enjoy going to school on. I would have loved to have seen how he weathered this storm. For over the years, I watched his life go through some very significant transitions, some of them pretty stout, that might have broken a lesser person. And while there was always a period of disequilibrium in the middle of the crisis, Richard always managed to right the ship and get back in the systems and get what he needed to move on. I realized also that Richard never complained, to me at least, about his lot in life. He simply went about getting what he could from the lot that was dealt him, using the gifts that he had been given and the ones that he had learned along the way. He reminded me a lot of that saying that Jesus has in Matthew's Gospel when he sends the disciples out to do ministry. He reminds them that he is sending them out in a world full of wolves, and that they need to be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. There is no doubt that Richard was wise. In that wisdom, he managed to navigate what many of us have not been able to do. I've seen a lot of stupid people during this pandemic. In many ways, Richard's wisdom would be a real gift. For what I have seen is those who were able to navigate the systems and to take advantage of what life was now presenting have done quite well. And those who have sat back and complained and cast blame have truly struggled. Perhaps we need to be a little more like Richard. Wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove. Yeah, that too was Richard. One of my fondest memories is of a Sunday morning. Richard always knew he could find me between the hours of 6 and 8 at the church, and almost on a weekly basis was there. with a request. He would call up from the back stairs, "Pastor Jacobson!" That particular Sunday morning, I wanted no part of Richard, or his games, or his schemes. I was just tired and worn out. But he kept calling. And so eventually I went to the back stairs. "What do you want, Richard?" And then I looked down. And there he stood with a big smile on his face, holding 2 cups of coffee. He said, "Pastor Jacobson," he said, "I had a feeling today might be a bad day. Thought you could use another cup of coffee this morning. So here you go." And with that, he laid it down on the steps and left. It was truly a gift. Maybe all might do well to be a little more like Richard, to engage this world as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. Who knows how we might fare?